I usually describe Lyric Chief as if Genius, as in rap genius,
Yeah.
and Duolingo, if they adopted an African baby, that baby would be Lyric Chief. But one or two people would be like, what does this guy mean by this? What is wahala? What is how far? They would ask me all those things.
Yeah.
And I got tired of explaining. They say laziness is the parent of innovation. There's no better team to build Lyric Chief or anything music related. That's anything that is at the intersection of music and technology than Ore and I. You could take that statement to the bank.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Build by Visible podcast. Today I'm here with one of my very good friends, Sam. Hi Sam. And we're going to be talking about his journey building Lyric Chief. If you've never heard about Lyric Chief, well, this is your introduction. And I promise you that by the end of this episode, you're going to be as sold on the product as I am. So hi Sam, how you doing?
I'm good, Dami. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, when I was thinking about the people to interview for this podcast, you were at the top of the list for a lot of reasons.
Sure.
One of the reasons, you don't believe me, but it's okay. One of the reasons is the fact that you're building something that is so cool, so timely, and I think has a very huge impact on a very important industry in the African space. So, before we get into it, for people who have never heard of Lyric Chief, I'd like for you to introduce your platform to them.
For sure. I usually describe Lyric Chief as if Genius, as in rap genius,
Yeah.
and Duolingo, if they adopted an African baby, that baby would be Lyric Chief.
That's very, very specific.
It is very specific for a very specific reason. Lyric Chief is a platform that highlights the cultures that we have in Africa through the music. A lot of the music are stories. The lyrics have very, very profound meanings that we found, and we highlight those, especially to the diaspora audience and to the people back home as well. That's for the fans. For the artists, we help them to connect to their diaspora audiences, which means that they can do more tours, they can sell more merch, they can get more streams. Basically, they can make more money.
Yeah.
And for the record labels as well, we make it easier for them to provide another distribution arm for their artists. And there's so many different use cases that we've seen for Lyric Chief that we did not know when we first started building it. But at the core is we translate lyrics and we annotate those lyrics and we promote those lyrics to music fans.
And I think for the music fans too, especially for people who are not Nigerian or not African, right? Because sometimes Nigerian songs do big numbers in Uganda or in South Africa, and there's a lot of context that they don't really have around the song. But even more so now that Afrobeats is global, right? So you have audiences in the US, UK, people who are not originally African, but that really resonate with the music, but like they can't really connect to it as much as someone with context can. So for them, you're able to basically help them connect more with the music that they're listening to and that they love. And I think that's a very, very beautiful thing you're doing.
Appreciate it.
But I think it's also a very intelligent thing you're doing. So how did this come about? I know that you have a mechatronics engineering background. And you've done a lot of cool work in the past with autonomous vehicles and all that nerdy stuff. But how did you get from that point to this point with Lyric Chief?
First of all, I'm not going to sit here and take the entire credit for Lyric Chief.
Oh yes, you have a co-founder.
Yes, I have
I
have a very, very brilliant co-founder.
Yeah.
His name is Ore, and he's as responsible for the success of Lyric Chief as I am.
Oh, so humble. We like a humble king.
And not just Ore, but we also have the rest of the team who are contributing daily to our progress. Now, to answer your question about my background, I did study mechatronics engineering. For people that are not aware, it's a combination of mechanical, electronics, and software engineering. Very nerdy, but also it was perfect for a 16, 17-year-old that did not know what he wanted to do. Yeah. But you knew that engineering was...
Did you actually enjoy it?
I really loved it. I
Nice.
I would do it again if I could. So the combination of all those disciplines of engineering is very, very relevant to the robotics industry, because when you're working on robots, you have to do the mechanical design, you have to set up the circuits, and you do have to program them to be able to navigate the world on their own. So naturally, that was the first industry that I went into. And I transitioned from that to autonomous vehicles. I did that for about almost 3 years, which was also really fun. But that was mostly me writing code and programming those vehicles. But at the background of all of these things, there's always music playing. I'm that guy that has different headphones. Whenever you see me, I'm listening to something, and I average about 200k minutes on Spotify alone. And if you check maybe YouTube music, it'll be another round of whatever, SoundCloud, all of that jazz. So Lyric Chief was the combination of my engineering skills as well as my passion for music. It just culminated in the perfect product.
So I know you glossed over it, but that's like, you actually average about, I think you said 7,000?
Like 200k
minutes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is it?
That's like, how can we estimate that? Maybe like 300 days?
Something like that.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So you're
a lot of the Lyric Chief team is like that.
Really?
Yeah, we're all big music heads, big music fans. It's very important to be able to do the kind of work that we do.
So what's usually like the spread? Like, would you say like the team is very well rounded with the music taste? So
yes.
How far do you have someone that listens to rock?
Yes.
Metal?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. We have people that listen to rock, metal, that are not even African.
Really?
We have people that love like anime soundtracks. We have people that love.
My sister's one of those people.
We have people that love Brazilian funk on the team. It's very, very, very diverse.
What exactly is Brazilian funk sound like?
I can send you a playlist.
That is so crazy. Interesting. So I wanted to talk about how you started Lyric Chief, or how you and Ora met. So what's the story around Lyric Chief actually becoming a thing? For sure.
There's two POVs, because there's two co-founders that met, kind of like how you have, a couple and, they're both on their journey and they eventually cross paths.
That's very interesting, because people actually do like in co-founders to married couples.
It is. You argue like them, you laugh like them, and all of that jazz. Yeah. So I'll start with Ore's POV because his timeline is a bit earlier. So Ore, he started a company called Sample Chief in 2018, and Sample Chief highlights samples in and of African music. So you might have seen the videos on your timelines. It'd say, okay, this fella song that was released in 1970. Oh, it was sampled by Jay-Z in the 1990s. I have seen some of those videos. Exactly. So that started in 2018, and it attracted a lot of the diaspora audience. People that were trying to connect with their roots through music. And as he was building that, listening to the community that he had formed, there was a lot of interest in the lyrics as well. So he just bought the Lyric Chief domain, Sample Chief, Lyric Chief, and put it aside. I'll work on it like eventually. And he was building Sample Chief to the point where it's sitting at a community of almost 60,000 people doing events in so many different cities in the world. And that's his POV. Then my POV is, like I said earlier, I listen to a lot of music, and I also love to share music with people. And I would share music with people, and they would say, "Hey, can you explain what this guy is talking about?" Like most people would say, "Oh, I like this, I can dance to it." But one or two people would be like, "What does this guy mean by this? What is wahala? What is how far?" They would ask me all those things. Yeah. And I got tired of explaining. They say laziness is the parent of innovation. Yeah. So I got tired of explaining. And around 2020, 2021, during those COVID summers, Afrobeats started to pick up in the West. Yeah. There was the Essence, Wizkid's Essence that blew up. And then Burna Boy's Last. So by the time Burna Boy's Last blew up.
Was that 2020?
That was 2022.
Okay, because I was like, oh yeah.
2022, Burna Boy's Last. I'm like, look, this has become like, I need to build this. Like it was an idea from 2020, but by 2022 for me, it was like, I had so much conviction with the whole Igbo and Shayo phrases that we're getting. They were blowing up on Google Trends, people searching them up. That was one of the things that I looked up. So I knew that I had to build it, but I knew that it couldn't stand alone as like an app or a website. It needed content to go with it. And as luck would have it, I went out one evening, I ran into Ore, we were talking about Sample Chief. He told me about the domain. I'm like, you're not going to believe that I want to build that. Really? And he's like, well, I want to build that too. So like, can we build it together? And that was how we started building together. We spent the first couple of months or years just doing interviews. We spoke to artists across different parts of the journey. The people that were independent, the people that were signed, the people that had gotten some traction on their music, the people that hadn't. We spoke to record label employees. We spoke to music fans, people that loved Afrobeats, people that didn't, people that looked up lyrics, people that didn't. Because some people care a lot about the sound. Some people care a lot about the lyrics. We spoke to people that grew up on the continent, that spoke the language, that emigrated or didn't. We spoke to people that did not grow up there, but their parents are from there. We spoke to people that were not even African at all. Just finding out who exactly was our target audience and what features each of these audiences they wanted or they wanted or needed or they wanted to see. And as we just kept going, it just started to take shape.
Oh, that is so interesting. And so what was the MVP like? I'm curious to know. So you guys met at, what you said was a party. And you had this conversation. What was the next step? How did you guys take it up from there?
The first step after meeting, we met in, I believe, July of 2022. So for the rest of that summer, it was us just seeing if we're compatible as co-founders.
Oh, so you were dating each other?
No, don't do that. Don't do that. But
friendship dating?
We would just hang out. We would
so dating?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Agree to disagree.
What if I'm not agreeing to that? We would just hang out. We would hang out, bring a speaker, play music. We were also, at the time I was experimenting with DJing on the side.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that phase.
Yes, and he was a DJ or is a DJ.
Okay.
So we would just talk about DJing, music. We both had record collections, so we would talk about that. We would talk about our work styles. He's a creative. I'm more of a type A systems, engineer.
Nerd.
Nerd, for lack of a better word. So we just explored how compatible we were as co-founders, and then the next step was to conduct those interviews. So in the beginning of those interviews, we would just explain the idea after interviewing the people. And then I created a spreadsheet and I changed the tab on the sheet to Rema, calm down. And then on one column, I put the lyrics. And on the next column, I put the meanings of the lyrics. And that became our MVP, because that is what we would then share a screen at the end of the interview and be like, okay, this is what we're thinking of doing. Like, you have the lyrics, like the lines, and you have, this is what this line means, or this is what this combination of lines mean. And like I said, I'll talk to some people and they're like, oh, well, I already know this. Like, I grew up in Nigeria, I speak Yoruba, I speak Igbo, I don't need this. So like, oh my God, I've been dancing to this for so long, I didn't know what it was. And then we added 9 more songs, made it 10. Added Last, added some Thames, added some Wiz, some Davido. Let me not act as if I know him. And yeah, so first version of the MVP was a spreadsheet with 1 tab, which then morphed into a spreadsheet with 10 tabs. And it's like, okay, well, we can make this into a front end, built a front end for it. We used the CMS, converted that spreadsheet to the CMS so that the front end could communicate with that, put data, put it out, went to Collision in 2023, showed a few people the idea. Like, okay, well, I like this. So more feature suggestions kept coming in. Decided to we don't have an official launch date because from the day we created that initial first spreadsheet, we've just been iterating on every single thing that we've built.
Oh, wow. So then how did you get to this current point right now? Because now you have like a fully functioning website and you have users. So what was the marketing? I would say your marketing strategy. How did you get more eyes on it, just beyond Collision?
Right. Yeah.
And there was also a time where you experienced a ton of traffic.
Yes.
I can remember us having that conversation.
Yes.
What was the story surrounding that?
I can tell you that. So your first question is how we're able to get eyes on it. Like I said, literally is a 2-pronged approach. I lead the tech development, Ore is leading our content, because those two things go hand in hand. So we started making videos. The timeline of that is a bit more blurry to me, but we started making videos, pictures, and just putting it out on like our Instagram pages, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of that kind of jazz. And whenever we put out content, we would see that we're getting more visits on the site, like there'll be a spike. We would also see a spike around global events. So when Burna Boy performed at the Grammys, for example, there was a spike from the US because now everyone's curious.
How did they even find you guys? Was it SEO?
Yeah, literally. We haven't paid for any promotion.
Really?
The SEO is just
I feel
good
like
like
you
that.
need to consult SEO.
It's good like that. Yeah. But they would search for it and we would pop up. And the reason why we would pop up is because we were providing more than just the lyrics. We're providing the translations, the annotations, the actual meaning behind the songs. When Burna would talk about I did Port Harcourt, when then kill Suboma. Who is that? Like why is he referencing that person? We have that kind of information, right? So people would always notice those spikes around global events. Then the time when we went viral was Davido's wedding. So yes, this was July of 2024, July of 2024. There was this song that was blowing up in Eastern Nigeria, and it hadn't crossed over into like the Lagos mainstream in like the music industry, which is localized in Lagos. And as a music head, I listened to songs from everywhere. So I'd heard the original song, and I'm like, this is a good song. Like, this song is going to blow up. And I put it on the site. Oh. And Aurelia like, which song is this? Where'd you get this song from? I'm like, bro, this song is really good. And I've seen some TikTok videos on this song. I feel like it's going to be a hit.
What song was that?
It's called Ogechi. By
okay.
Brown Joel and a couple other guys.
Okay.
So I'm like, this song is going to take off. Like, I'm just going to put it on the site. It's not on the homepage, don't worry. But if you search for it, it will pop up. It's like, okay, sure, no problem. Yeah. So Davido's wedding comes around. He drops a remix of the song. He mentions his wife. It's a very the verse that he puts is very like, he's adoring his wife. And around the time when there was a lot of conversations online about the wedding, people were searching for the song to know which song is this that David was talking about. And we had wonderful annotations around like how he's professing love and all that kind of thing. So that coupled with the content, the videos that were coming out from the wedding, people were curious, and we got like I think 14K visits that month, which was like our number one, our peak at the time. Yeah. And it was very nice to see, like, to get that validation that our strategy is good and the value that we're providing is good.
Just a sidebar. I remember when we had the first conversation about this, where we were talking about saying you wanted to build this product, and I'm like, okay, and I was just kind of like playing devil's advocate and just like flipping a lot of questions to you.
Right.
I think now years have passed, and I'm seeing what you've built, and I think that, and I'm seeing it, and I'm just so amazed at how thoughtful you are with what you're building, and also how you guys were the best people to build this product. A lot of times when people think about building products, they think about, just making it work and how to get it into the market and how to get into the hands of the right people. But you guys had a lot of interest, domain expertise, and just love for the space that you're building in. Mm-hmm. Because now, like, I'm pretty sure if you play that song to me, I can bet you $1 million.
Right.
I would have been like, okay, cool, and so what? Mm-hmm. But you were able to identify that, this song is going to blow. Yeah. And you were very proactive in your approach, and that ended up leading to the success that you guys experienced. And so just right now, as I'm just like thinking about your story, it's just very interesting to see that so there's some products that not just anybody can build, right? That when you're thinking about something that you want to build, you have to think about the founder product fit.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
That's not something that a lot of people talk about.
For sure.
Because even another interview that I did recently with Nina, who's building So Plugged, she, just from talking to her, you just know that she's the right, it's like no other person can build this thing. Like, it just has to be her.
For sure.
Right?
For
and
sure.
I'm just kind of getting that sense from you too.
Yes.
And I'm just kind of connecting the dots. And
100%.
I think it's just...
There's no better team to build Lyric Chief or anything music related that's anything that is at the intersection of music and technology than Ori and I. You could take that statement to the bank.
No, that's on period. That's on period.
I'm telling you, according to like the Y Combinator podcast, which I listen to, there's 3 skills that a founder team needs to have, which is product development, engineering, and ability to acquire users. Prior to Lyric Chief, we already had that.
With Sample Chief,
with the stuff that I was doing in...
What stuff were you doing?
With stuff that I was doing like in the automotive industry.
Oh, okay.
And I'm a weekend thinker. I will always make like Python scripts to create a Python script that's connected to the Spotify API that would help me find new music, scraping different playlists.
When people go hard, I feel like it's a whole different level. I just wait until they release the song to hear.
Before people like Emmanuel Owuni, who is a YouTuber in the Afrobeats space, were doing New Music Fridays. That's how I used to collate new music for myself. A cron job that would run on Saturday mornings, and then I would listen to that playlist throughout the weekend to know which songs I was adding to my playlist or not. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, product development, engineering, and ability to acquire users, we have that. And then we have the fire, and we are fans, we are music fans, we are building for people like us. People that, our team meetings, for example, we can spend 20 minutes arguing that he didn't say that, he said this. Or did you listen to this album? Okay, it's a 6 out of 10 now, I believe it's a 7 out of 10. We are music fans at our core, right? So we're building for people that are exactly like us.
That is so crazy. I mean, I don't know. I'm as we're talking, I'm just like reflecting, and it's just crystallizing in my head how far you've come from just that conversation that we had like 2 years ago. And
I think it was more. I think it was longer than 2 years.
Time is the concept. And how far you guys have come and what you guys are building right now. And because at that time, I would say the truth, right? At that time, I was a little skeptical because I'm like, what's the need for this, 100%. Right? Like, what's happening? And that's just like me naturally, right? I like to play devil's advocate. Yeah. I like to play devil's advocate because a lot of time people just build stuff just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Or they build stuff as hobbyists, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it blows. Yeah. But sometimes, a lot of times it doesn't. It doesn't, right? Yeah. But it was obvious that you wanted this to become an actual thing.
Yes.
And it was very unclear to me why you were building this and why you had to be the one to build this.
Right.
But like now I have like this full circle moment where I'm like, oh my God, yes.
Right.
This is the reason why.
Right.
And you were the right person to build this. And you guys are like...
Still am.
You guys are doing an amazing job. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I want to go into the translations and the giving people lyrics and context to the lyrics part of the conversation. How do you guys manage that? What's that process like?
Right. I'm not going to reveal too much.
Oh, industry secrets. Okay.
I'm not going to reveal too much.
We respect that.
It's a combination of different things. We work with linguists when we can because they are able to provide context around...
Like actual linguists?
Yes, they're able to provide context, especially like anthropology.
I'm sorry, you guys are going so hard.
Oh no, we are.
Really?
We see ourselves as town criers. You know how town criers used to be?
Yeah.
They deliver information. And we don't take an opinion on that information. We just deliver it to you.
Right.
This is the facts. This is what it means. And these are the links for you to do more research on.
That is so crazy.
So that's the approach that we take, like the mindset.
Yeah.
So we work with native speakers when we to validate our translations and annotation and translations especially.
Yeah.
We would work with like linguists and people that they have the context of like maybe they're close to the artist or they have been in the industry and there's a word that keeps repeating itself and they can give us that information, right? And then we also use AI a lot in our process to be able to do it at scale.
Well, that's where you're going to stop. Okay, I'll take it.
I'm going to stop.
The linguist part too is actually blowing my mind because I think that just goes to show the intentionality behind what you guys are doing.
For sure.
I just thought that you guys maybe like used your knowledge or talk to a friend who's a friend or just like sourced information. That was
in the beginning when we're taking baby steps. Oh. You understand? When we're taking baby steps, I'll call my boys from like ABG. I'll be like, there's this Hausa song and I don't understand anything that this guy is saying. Please, if you can, what's the translation, or talk to people that speak the language. Well, now we've been able to build like a community of those native speakers that help us out with this, and we plan to open the site up to other music fans.
Yeah,
similar to how Genius does it, but not exactly, because with Genius CD, the fans have to upload they have to add the translation and the annotation. But what we want the fans to help us with is to just give us. Just validate or verify what it is that we are putting out.
What was the rationale behind getting like linguists and anthropologists on board?
Attention to detail. I don't want to put out nonsense.
And that's on period.
I don't want to put out nonsense.
What have you learned from working with them?
No knowledge is wasted. I feel like it's it's a industry or a career path that's not very encouraged in our community.
True.
Because people don't see it as, lucrative.
You're not a doctor, you're not an accountant. Yeah.
You can't use it to raise your shoulder.
Yeah. But that's what they think.
That's what they think. But there's a reason why by 2050 it's estimated that 40% of African languages will be extinct. Do you speak your language?
I don't understand.
I don't.
Okay, I understand, but I don't speak. No.
I'm Z for me.
Oh, Z? Okay, I'm better than you.
Yeah, you're better.
So
you're better than me. And we don't think that is a problem. In our community, we have bigger problems. If you look at the state of the country and all that kind of jazz. But that does not mean that they should also be ignored. And we want to do our own part to make sure that these cultures and these languages are preserved.
Wow.
If there was a repository of like Fela's music where I could understand why he was singing the songs he was singing, because a lot of the songs that he put out were event driven. Something happened and he put out a record. I know that context because I'm a nerd. I've researched it. But if it was easily accessible, right, that would add so much context and we will celebrate it even more than we do now, right? So we're doing our part to make sure that that's the case for the Rugas, the Omalays, the Bensons, and all the new artists that are coming out.
That is so interesting in the sense that I've never actually thought about the political aspect to some of the songs that were released in the past, right? Because I listen to a lot of like Chief Commander Ebenezer Obey.
As you should.
And there's a lot of context in some of the songs that he sings, and I'm just like, it's lost on me.
For sure.
And I wonder if somebody had archived that, if somebody had maybe translated that and archived that, it can help me better appreciate his music compared to just me listening with like the context that I have right now. And so in some way, the work that you guys are doing, you are preserving a part of the African culture and a part of the African history,
for sure,
which I think is so important, and I think is just amazing work.
I appreciate that.
So thank you for doing the amazing
work.
You
have been whining me.
No, because wait, let me tell you what's going on, right? I came to this conversation. I knew that I needed to talk to you, as I said earlier, which you don't believe, but I knew I needed to talk to you about Lyric Chief. I knew that there was something that I wasn't seeing, right? Because we would, especially recently, because we haven't really had time to sit down and chat.
Right.
So we would talk back from time to time. You give me some updates.
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot of things that I was seeing that I didn't really understand, right? And I needed context into.
For sure.
And now having a conversation with you, everything's just kind of crystallized, and I'm like, oh my God. Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is why you did this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is why you did that.
Yeah.
And it's helping you even see more possibilities and even appreciate what you're doing more. Because somebody can kind of look at it and think about it as like a hobbies project. Like, oh, these people, they love music. They just have so much time on their hands. But when you think about it in the terms of preserving culture, preserving history, when you think about that aspect to things, you realize, oh my God, this is actually important work. Beyond them actually doing this for fun, there's a cultural aspect to this, there's an impact aspect to this, and they're doing they're creating a lot of value and service, being of service to the African generation. And I think that's just like very important.
To add to that, remember at first I spoke about the value add to artists, to record labels, to music fans. This is what we call our social impact value, right? Similar to, do you know archiving? I
was gonna mention archiving because like that was actually what came up in my head. I'm like, oh my God, they're basically archiving but for music,
literally,
right?
Yeah. And
it's been so interesting to see, not to take the conversation from you, but it's been so interesting to see when things come up, when things have come up in recent times, you'd see that the archiving team, they would bring newspapers from like the 1970s to show that, oh, this actually happened in the past. And what we're seeing is actually not new, especially with this jam thing that happened recently. They were able to dig up like newspaper from the past that I would have never seen to see that, it's actually been like a long-standing institutional problem, right? And that helped me better appreciate the work that they were doing. That they're not just digitizing newspapers, they're preserving history. For sure. And it's just such important work. But I'll let you see what you're going to say.
and we're doing the same thing. And the last... I don't know when this is coming out, but we put out a video recently about a theme in 2 songs that dropped in the last month. one from Ira Star, and another one from Davido with you with Omali, and Ira Star with Wizkid, and they both referenced this Wyclef Jean song, right? And Wyclef Jean was referencing the murder of an unarmed black man um, by the police, and we are preserving that connection between us and our Wyclef Jean is from Haiti. This was an event that happened to a black American in the US, right? So you can see that link. And another thing is a lot of the prejudice that communities have against each other comes from a lack of understanding. By breaking down the lyrics to certain songs and explaining the stories behind it, we can see the similarities between all of our communities, and that would help us to reduce some of those, prejudices that we have against each other. So those are our social impact value adds.
You guys have really thought about this whole thing.
We really have.
So as we think about the plans for the future, what are some of the things? And I feel like this is a little early to ask this question, but it's all good. For me, I just think that I just want to know, like, I want to know where your head is at. I want to know, like, what you guys are thinking about. What are you trying to achieve within the next couple of years?
For sure. I want to give you the update incrementally.
Okay.
But without revealing too much.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't want to overpromise and on that. But I'm very excited to be exploring French music. I've been listening to French music predominantly for the last year, and I can see it's picking up in mainstream. GDF just had a viral moment, and I can see a couple more viral moments coming from artists like Tiakola, Teiki, Jaju, and all of those guys doing amazing things. And I want Lyric Chief to be able to support that and eventually expanding into other parts of the continent. Amapiano is big. We want to do that. We want to support Swahili. We want to support Arabic so that we can explore music in North Africa and eventually, expand to other continents as well. Just give artists that are not singing predominantly in English a chance.
There's a lot of context. There's a lot of nuances, right, that comes with the lyrics that you get on the platform or the lyrics that you post on the platform. And there's some people that might feel like maybe things are not being properly translated, or you're not being really respectful in the way that you are translating things, or that the context you're giving is not complete. How do you manage the quality the quality of the context of the lyrics of the translations on the platform?
Yeah, for sure. The first thing is what we are currently doing, and the second thing is what we plan to do, right? What we're currently doing, like I said, is working with native speakers, working with people that are able to provide, people that have studied those languages to be able to give us that context, to be able to give us the literal translation as well as the historical context behind that. Because some words, when you translate them literally, they are not in the context that they are being used. That literal translation does not apply. That happens a lot in Yoruba language from my experience, right? So we do that, and we make sure that before we put anything out, we validated that. And the next thing is, we don't want people to just be complaining. We want to give them an opportunity to also be part of the solution. Upvote and downvote. If you think this is correct, upvote it. If you think it is inaccurate, downvote it. With enough downvotes, we will revise it and we would, correct it. And that way, in 10 years or 20 years, if you come back, you will see the accurate translation.
So the platform right now seems to be very heavily focused on translations and giving backstories. What are some of the other ways that you think that you guys can help people better understand African music and music from other regions?
For sure. We've recently piloted merch.
Let's talk about that. I saw this really cute merch.
Yes.
What was the rationale behind that?
The rationale behind that was the conversation about Afrobeats not having substance, and we thought that was...
Was that on social media?
Yes. Somebody was trying to sell an album and said that, it does not have substance.
This guy named Drop who said it. Okay. My bad.
And
okay.
Not only that, but everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Right, fair.
But the people agreeing with that opinion. We did not agree with that.
Right.
And we felt like we have the data to be able to show that there is substance here. There is stories about heartbreak. There's protest anthems. There is stories about triumph. There's stories about overcoming personal challenges. There's stories that are adulating your parents, or there's stories that are talking about how you have a not so great relationship with them. Right? There's stories about homelessness. There's stories about losing a child. And that is substance. So we're like, okay, what's the best way we can highlight this outside of what it is that we're currently doing? A very big trope in Afrobeats is people confessing their love for a particular love interest, be it man to woman or woman to man or whatever the case is. But okay, why don't we give people an opportunity to key into that, right? To be able to send that message to their own loved one. Not necessarily only listen to like an artist talk about their love interest, but you send, an African queen card to your African queen. Or
wow, I see that. I rate it.
But we're real lovers here, man.
Lover boys are up.
Lover boys are up, exactly. So why don't we give people an opportunity to do that? And we piloted it, and the feedback and the reception was very good. So that's one of the ways that we're helping people to connect with the lyrics beyond just translations and annotations. Another thing that we've piloted in the past, which did really well, was set lists. We found that the times when people would look up lyrics the most was when an artist announced a global tour. When Ashake would say, okay, I'm going to 10 cities in the US, we would see the spike from those cities in the US. Interesting.
And that's something that you guys used to track?
Yes.
We still track?
We still track. So we came up with a set list of what we thought he would, prior to the first show, these are the songs that we think he would perform. We're able to do that because, we're music heads.
Yeah.
And people would use that to prepare for concerts, so that the $200 or XYZ dollars that they have invested in their tickets, plus the amount that they've spent on their outfits and the pre-drinks, and if you add all those expenses up, they want to be able to get their return on investment by having a good time. And having a good time usually means singing along with the crowd. So we're excited to continue to explore that arm, in addition to the merch and all of our content ideas that we are going to put out. I'm not going to reveal.
You're going to. Wow, someone is being very cryptic on this call. Yes. Let's talk about the merch. How did that do, and how were you able to manage the logistics of that?
That was a new. It was a new, should I say, industry or field or domain? It was a new domain for my co-founder Ora and I, and we figured it out. no, genuinely.
Yeah.
We figured it out. It was a pilot. We knew we're not going to do anything perfect. We do it perfect. And we both have content and tech have two different mindsets that you approach them with. In tech, we have build fast and break things. You put something out, it's janky, but you continue to iterate on it. Once you put out a piece of content, you can't touch it again. So it has to be perfect. You cannot move fast and you can move fast and break things in terms of like posting often and consistency and all that kind of jazz. But if you're putting out like a particular piece of content, once you put it out,
takes back.
Yeah, exactly. There's no iteration. There's no gate commits on a video, right? So we decided that, okay, for this e-commerce approach, we're going to combine those two, the idea of build fast and break things with the idea of this needs to be perfect before we put it out. So we invested a lot in the designs, right? Because we knew that once we did the designs, we would be able to, we don't have to touch that again. And then with the logistics, it was more build fast and break things. You get an order from a particular location, you go to Canada Post and they tell you, oh, this is going to be $20 to ship with tracking. Like, no, this won't work. Let me go and try FedEx, or let me go and try UPS, whichever is going to give me like a lowest shipping fees. And then we figured that out.
We can able to make profit on that, because like if you like, how did you pre-calculate the delivery?
I'm not going to reveal that.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm not going to. All I can say is that he did well.
He did well. Okay. Well. You guys were able to like break even.
The goal that we had, we achieved it.
Okay.
Whatever that is our business.
Wow.
But so we with the logistics, we just trial and error, and then we heard about things called 3PL, where you ship your merch to a particular location and then they help you with logistics. I was okay, well, we can try that.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it was me taking the cards, going to the somebody's house.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you ordered greeting cards. Here you go. Here you go. Because these were very timely for like Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And a lot of lover boys are also last minute people. You know, I don't blame them. You have to figure out the dinner location, the flowers, all of that jazz. All of those things take a toll. So I understand. So empathizing with them, I decided to, do some home deliveries myself so that they can make whoever special person it is that they were trying to make happy.
So is that something that's going to come back this year?
110%. 110%. We're going to expand it beyond just like Valentine's cards. Yeah. It's going to be for every occasion, and we're going to handle our logistics way better.
Did you have like an in-house designer to help with the? Okay.
Not in-house, but we worked with somebody.
We had a designer. Okay, that's it. Because I now tried to put the pictures of the cards, but they're really pretty and they're really nice. Do you think that there's possibility of you expanding beyond the cards? Is there do you have like more merch? Or you about to say, I can't disclose that. Okay, I'll take that answer.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'll take that answer.
Right.
Okay, let's go to the other side of things. So you said you were working on merch and then the concerts, right? Yeah. So what's the whole idea around that, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm also curious to know how well the set list that you put together performed. Were you able to track against like the actual set list that was performed?
Yes. So after the first concert, we knew what the set list had, because we're music heads. Once again, if I gave you $1 for every time I said that,
I would bank.
Yeah. Anyways, there's websites for set, like I think it's called Setlist FM, Setlist.fm, something like that, where I used to, before I would look up a set list before I went to a concert. And if there was no set list before I went to the concert, while I'm there, I would have my notes app opened. When the artist performs the song, I would note it down the order, and then I would go and create the set list on Setlist FM, right? And then I would create the playlist.
So much passion, obsession,
the things we do for love,
Wow.
And I would create the playlist on my Spotify, and then I would notice that the Spotify playlist would be getting saves. People were searching it up and they were saving it because they were like me. They also wanted to get the return on their investment. So before we did the set list, before the Ogechi moment happened, and that was another peak that we had. So we've had multiple peaks as we've tried different things and we've seen, okay, this actually works. So the set list performed very well.
What are some of the experiments, and this is just to deviate a little bit, but what are some of the experiments that you've run that didn't perform so well?
I'm not boasting,
Okay.
But everything we've done has turned to gold.
Interesting. This is like
everything we've done has worked out.
Wow.
And the only reason why we're able to do that is because we spend a lot of time talking to the people that use our platform. The suggestions and the recommendations come from them. We are music fans, so we're able to give them a couple of options. I'm like, which one would you want to see first? I'm like, bro, this is the one that I want to see. Like Emmanuel that I referenced before, that makes YouTube content. If you go on our site, you see a section for classics. That was his suggestion. Like, I want to be able to see older songs. I'm like, you know what? We'll do that for you. Like, no problem. And that is doing very well. Especially as these songs come back into circulation through TikTok. Fuji is having a moment on TikTok. We add that to our page because people are now curious when it comes back up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of our experiments work out well because of the feedback loop that we have with our users. And then on the content side as well, we experiment with a lot of different approaches to the videos. The message is the same. It's the approach that we experiment with because that landscape changes often. What those algorithms favor this month might be different from what they favor next month. So we just have to, keep our ear to the ground and continue to experiment with that.
So I'm curious to know how you do that, right? So you talked about content, but you talked about like just keeping eyes on what's like current, right? So trends. But then you also talk about listening to your users, right? So for the listening to your users part, let's talk about that for a bit. How are you able to manage that whole thing? Because especially because your platform right now, it doesn't require people to sign in, right? So how do you get their emails? How do you get their contact? How do you get their feedback? And how do you manage that feedback loop?
We have on our side, we don't require you to sign up or sign in, but we have a form for requests.
Okay.
So if you want to see a particular lyric, the lyrics to a particular song, you make a request and we'll do it for you. If you took your time to request that, most of the time they were not landing on the site for the first time. You know, they had searched for something before, found it on Lyric Chief, and then they searched for something again. They didn't find it on Lyric Chief, and they're like, okay, I'm going to request that these guys create this page for me.
Right.
That's a super user. We will talk to you. Also,
Do you get their emails from their okay?
So
okay.
in the request form, they have to.
Oh, that's so smart.
And we'll talk to them.
Yeah.
1, 2 is, once again, we are music heads. The people that we often hang out with are other music heads, right? People that we meet at concerts, people that we meet at music related events. We even like vinyl nights. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, like vinyl show and tell. Like if you collect records, like
that's the thing people do.
Yes, like bring the 5 records that.
This is a very niche community.
bring your 5 most recent pickups in your collection. Or,
so you collect vinyl?
I do, yes. And or bring the 5 that you are most proud of, like the ones that you had to like hunt down or something, and talk about it. So in those communities, we will talk about Lyric Chief, and people would come back 2 weeks later. Oh my God, I checked your site out. I want to see if the song has a TikTok trend. I want to be able to see the TikTok trend on the lyric page. When I'm done reading the lyrics and annotation, I just want to see the kind of impact that the song has had. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll put it in the roadmap. We'll see when we'll be able to get to that. So yeah, that's how we manage those users.
So for the trends, I think that's a nice segue to talking about the trends. For the trends, how do you manage that? Because that also, it changes really quickly. Like there can be a trend that's there for like 2 months, but there can also be one that's just there for a week.
For sure.
And it just lives for a week. So are you able to figure out which is most important and which to prioritize for the platform?
We take it on a case by case basis.
Okay.
For sure. But we have a system that we use to track these trends. Luckily, a lot of these platforms, they provide that to creators, which we are. And we're able to use that, and with our own intuition, mix those two, because we know what we want to see. And I think somebody on Twitter the other day said that one of the big moats that a lot of startups have is taste, like the taste of the founders. Because, like you said, the founder industry or founder product fit is very high for us. So we just go with our gut, and most of the time we're successful.
Good way, but you say you're always successful with most projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
I maintain that.
Okay. Stand by that too. Okay, so you're doing this and you have a full-time job.
I do.
And I'm sure Aura does too.
Yes, it does.
How are you guys able to manage your time? Because all these things are very, very demanding, right? It's like keeping tabs on trend, feedback, talking to users, meeting people in person. There's a lot of different aspects to the business that you're running. How are you guys able to just manage your time and just juggle all the things that you guys have on your plates?
I'll give you the boilerplate, not so that anybody would answer to that question. You know, ruthless delegation, prioritization, all of that stuff. Yes, is part of our process. You know, making sure that our team, we unblock them, we make sure that they have the tools and the resources that they need to be able to fly, right? But on the flip side is also, whether this wasn't a business, I would still be doing these things. You know, I would still be tracking, listening to music. I would still be searching for lyrics. I would still be trying to figure out which song is the next one to I think is going to be the next hit, right? Because as a music head, there's no, one of the best feelings is telling your other music friends, like, guys, I told you people that this song was going to blow, and you people did not take me serious, and now look, all of you are adding it to your playlist. Do you get what I'm saying? So I would have been doing that regardless. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. And because the stuff that I'm doing for Lyric Chief was a huge part of what I was doing before I founded the company. It doesn't feel like that much work. The work comes in the overhead tasks that come with running a business, like the admin and all of that kind of jazz. Yeah.
So I'm just even clocking the fact that you were delivering cards to people while you had a full-time job. Girl. Anyways, let's talk about your users.
For sure.
What is the makeup of the demographics of your users, and what kind of people visit Lyric Chief?
Yeah. The site currently is heavy on Afrobeats. songs. So by extension, we get a lot of traffic from Nigeria.
Okay.
Nigeria and the US make up.
Nigeria?
Yes.
Like people, so pause.
Mhm.
So people in the country that they are making the music are
Yes.
coming to the platform to look for the
Yes.
context of the music.
Yes. Both of us don't speak our language.
Okay, but me, I understand Yoruba.
You're part of a select few.
Okay, touche.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
A
okay,
lot
that's
of
actually very
young
interesting.
people in the continent don't understand
That is so
the language.
interesting.
So we get a lot of traffic from there. The second place, our traffic, 70% of our traffic is Nigeria and the US. Then Canada, the UK, Australia, a couple other countries in Europe, the rest of them. But recently, we've seen some spikes from like the Nordic countries and Latin America.
Really?
Shout out to Aresta and Latin America. She's really penetrating like in that market, and people are curious. You know, we're satisfying. We satisfy three main things. The first one is curiosity. They hear the song, they want to know what the song is talking about. The second one is identity. Some people are children of immigrants. It is part of their identity, but they just want to connect with that a little bit more. And then the last one is connection, right? Some people, they just seek that connection to a song that you already know.
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting way to put it. What are some of the interesting things that you've noticed about how people discover and interface with the music and the backstories behind the music?
A lot of the time is let's say, wow, oh my god, wow, I didn't know that. That's what he said. And when you find out that Premier Gao is a heartbreak song,
bro, that one we were dancing to that song in parties, man.
Omale So is also not. It's not a dance, like it's a song about like overcoming personal struggles and like personal triumph, and we are dancing to it. There you go. So there's a lot of that, but there's also other things that users have said. Like I've interviewed some parents that have said, oh, because of Lyric Chief, I know which songs I can play for my kids or which songs that I don't play for them.
That's a very interesting use case.
Yes. And there's also been the users that have spoken about like the religious context. Like the songs sound very good, but because I did not understand the lyrics, I did not know if I should be listening to it as a, insert Abrahamic religion.
Yeah.
And they use our platform to determine if these lyrics are fine for them to to consume. So those are some insights that we've gotten from users. Some people have also said, oh, my partner is African, and I use this to build some connection with them. I send the song to them. I tell them, do you know that this means XYZ? That is how I feel about you, and the relationship is happier as a result. So many different reactions that we've gotten from people that we couldn't have imagined when we first started.
Well, these are very interesting use cases that I would have never thought of. But now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh my God, yes.
It makes sense.
That makes so much sense. Because there are a lot of songs that I don't listen to. I mean, because I know what they say and they just don't align with my values.
Right.
But then for somebody that maybe whose kid is into Afrobeats, but like they don't really have context into the meaning of the song,
right,
it's going to be a little iffy, right?
For sure.
Wow. That's so interesting. This has been such a great conversation for me, and I hope that everyone that's listening is as
I'm sure it's
amazed.
Amazed, don't worry.
As I am too, because this has been such a very enlightening conversation for me, especially because I feel like I've been here from the beginning, and I just didn't really think about. I didn't really think about how far it was going to come and how like the different parts of this whole idea, and I feel like it's really come together very, very nicely.
It's coming together.
Oh, it is coming.
The vision that Ore and I have, we haven't even actualized.
What's the vision?
I can't tell you. The reason why
what part of the vision can you tell us?
The reason why I can't tell you this is it changes every day. Not like there's a vision that we started out with, and there's things that have come as a result of the progress that we've made. And it's okay. Well, this vision that we had, let's expand it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay, what was the first vision?
The first vision was basically people that want to connect with their roots. Diaspora kids, immigrants that want to connect with their roots. That expanded.
Yeah, naturally.
From just Nigerian music, now we are catering to South African music. Okay, this is Africa's dedicated thing. And then I speak to I tell the idea to my non-African friend, and they're like, okay, when you get to Arab music, let me know. I'm like, who told you I was getting there initially?
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, well, why wouldn't you get there? When you get to like Punjab rap, let me know. Like, okay, well, damn, there's nothing
Yeah.
stopping me from doing that, right? So, like I said, by talking to more people and putting one foot in front of another, the vision just keeps expanding.
That actually, that wow. Just you mentioning Punjab rap. So actually, I listen to a lot of gospel songs, and so I listened to this gospel rap song, and they featured a ton of artists from across like the different countries, and they featured this amazing, amazing, amazing Indian rapper. And I knew that obviously what they were saying was clean, at least to me, because I mean I like my values.
Yeah.
But I couldn't for the life of me find out the meaning of what he was saying. Yeah. And I really wanted to. And I also wanted to just like listen more to his song. But if I don't understand what he's saying, it makes it really hard
to connect.
And so for me, it's like, okay, well, when you get to Punjab rap,
I'll let you know. Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you the song. Let me trust this.
I'll try my best.
We focus more on the impact of Lyric Chief from a end user standpoint, the end user being like the everyday person. I want us to talk a little bit about the value of Lyric Chief from an artist standpoint, an artist record label and all that. So you talked about how when you were doing the initial round of interviews, you talked to a lot of those types of people. Tell me, like, what were some of the things that came out of those conversations?
A couple of things that came out of those conversations were, right now on your streaming platform, you have lyrics available, but they are so a lot of those artists don't enjoy the process of getting those lyrics available. Because one, some of them don't write their music. Like they go into the studio and they sing from the heart, and they don't want to have to deal with all of that stuff. So that was one product that we even explored in the beginning. Like, why don't we make it easier for them to like upload their lyrics to streaming platforms and all that stuff? And we're still exploring that. But what conversations that came out of the points that came out of those conversations with artists was how it's like an untapped resource, the lyrics that they put out, and in terms of like connecting with fans, especially in this industry. You would see videos of a Taylor Swift fan crying, a Swiftie, crying at a concert, singing at the top of their lungs because they relate to what they're saying. Why they also want to have that. Because those fans are the ones that would line up outside the Scotiabank Arena to get sweatshirts, get all the merch. That remember when Taylor Swift came to the city?
It was chaos. I didn't come downtown for days. I just could not.
I don't have that luxury. So it was chaotic the whole time, and it was because she's able to create that connection with her fans. They understand what she's going through, and she makes relatable music. Whereas somebody else is making relatable music, but it's not translating to the fans. Do you get what I'm saying? So that was one. Another insight that came from the record labels was just about distribution, right? Right now, distribution is very important, and you can look at distribution in different ways. You can get your song into a movie, for example, and that is another revenue stream, right? But nobody had really done anything with the lyrics of their music, and that's something that we're trying to help them with.
So what do you think the future could look like, right? So as you're continuing to build this out with Aura and the whole team, how can you better support record label companies? I already have an idea, but I want to hear what you think. How can you better support record labels, the artists, and also just like the whole business of music, and basically help them in connecting deeper with their fans?
The first answer to that question is data.
Okay.
That's the first question.
Explain.
In this conversation, I've mentioned a lot about the data that we use and we track to be able to provide our users with the value that we can provide for them. That is also data that we can provide to the artists. Hey man, do you know that your song is popping in Shanghai? People are looking at your lyrics in Shanghai. If you're going to do a tour, I feel like you can add a 500-person venue in that city, and I'm pretty sure you would do well based off how many visits that.
That's so interesting.
Because anybody can stream your song, right? The way the radios are set up on the streaming platform, you listen to one song, it starts playing all the other songs. It was not intentional. But somebody that looked up your lyrics, for lack of a better word, they meant to.
Yeah.
It wasn't
An
an
accident.
accident.
Yeah, it wasn't something.
So our data is more concrete in terms of where they can have their concerts, where they can sell merch, where they can have impact, or where they can start to grow another listening base, right? So that's one of the main things that we can help them with.
That's so interesting. I think another thing that you can also help with is just even the whole idea around creating a very more coherent experience for concert goers.
Yes.
Right. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there because even for me, like when I do go to concerts, the artists usually would post their set list, and I religiously study that thing because I can't be in the concert and like I'm not shouting.
Return on investment.
Yeah, I have to make So I think that's definitely like a very huge opportunity area, especially as you've already noticed that there are a lot of people that are already searching and trying to get that together. I'm wondering though, like, what's the plan around monetization? I know you say you cannot share, but you will share.
Okay.
Yeah, you will share.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of opportunities around monetization, but I want to just know where the team's at a very high level.
For sure. So once again, Lyric Chief is two-pronged. We
Yeah.
have content and we have tech. And both of those arms of the business have their own monetization strategies. On the tech side, I can speak to that. It is the core of our product is providing those lyrics and translations. But all these other features that I've mentioned, the set lists, the merch, all of those are monetization opportunities for us. Now, switching over to content side, as we build our audience, we are giving you an opportunity to have a conversation like this and break down your song. We've done that with about 4 or 5 artists already, and they have seen, the impact on their back end, right? So we're giving you an opportunity to be able to explain yourself to your listeners and build that connection, right? You will drop something.
Yeah.
Eventually, right? Eventually. So that is another like monetization opportunity. Then from the record label's perspective as well, the data that we provide, similar to how Stairs provide data to businesses, and they will use that data to make more money. You're dropping a fraction of how much you will make with the data that we would provide. You eat, we eat.
Everybody eats well, food,
happy.
thank God.
It's not a problem.
What are some of the integration plans though? Are there plans to integrate with plans to integrate with like maybe Apple Music, Spotify, or YouTube or something?
Yeah, that has come up in our user interviews as well. Like, okay, I'm listening to the song on Spotify, then I have to come and search for you guys on my Safari. It's sticky. Like,
it's a disjointed experience.
Yeah, I want that to be seamless. So we're open to collaborating with these people. Let me say it here.
Yeah.
We're open to communicating, to collaborating with.
Yeah.
Want to have our data in your platform. Reach out. Info
They're open.
Yeah. Let's see what we can do together.
No, I think you guys have done such an amazing job with what you have built so far, the community, the intentionality. I think it's obvious that so much thought has gone into it, and I really, really admire that about what you guys are doing. And so I'm just wondering that, as you just think about the journey and as you think about the whole experience and the highs, the lows, what has been the most rewarding part of this whole journey for you as an individual?
It's a very, very interesting question.
Yeah, I just put it out of my hat.
Yeah. Most rewarding part of the journey for me as an individual is, I think being an engineer is so valuable to me. I love to build things, and most importantly, I love to solve problems. To see the impact that we're having on people's lives, the problems that we're solving for them, people that I don't know, I will never meet, and to just hear the feedback, it is so rewarding. Like, I don't want to mention any hard drugs on on your podcast, but it is similar to taking, not that I know.
Yeah, I'm like, how would you know?
It can be likened to taking 1 or 2 of those hard substances. It's very rewarding. And also like the personal growth. You know what I'm saying? When we first met and you said, Sam, come and sit down in front of a camera and do XYZ. I was never going to do that, right? So yeah, it's been a very rewarding journey. No regrets, no matter what losses or anything happened, like I had to do it. There was no way I wasn't going to do it. Like,
Yeah.
Ori and I, we really had to do it. Like, we had to find out if if we're true, if we're correct, or if we're wrong. We had to find out.
I want to learn a little bit about your relationship with Ora. You speak so highly of him, and rightfully so. I mean, I met him once or twice, and he's really great people. I want to know how you've been able to just manage that co-founder relationship. What's that experience been like for you, and what have you learned from that?
We talk. I went to.
You guys are married, not in a romantic way.
But I went to like I mentioned, going to Collision.
Yeah.
In 2023, and one of the talks that I really wanted to go to attend was about co-founder relationships. And the lead, I wish I remember her name right now. I have the notes from the talk on my phone, and she said you need to talk every day. At that time, we didn't prioritize that. Like, we would talk. We had 2 weekly meetings, so we would talk then. I would give our updates then. But now it's like, if I walk out of here now, I'm going to call him.
Wow.
Like, guy, this is how the conversation with Dami went.
Yeah.
Whether or not he wants to hear it, he will hear it. You know. So we communicate and we recognize each other's strengths. I know what I'm good at. I know what he's amazing at. I know where my skills are a bit limited, as well as he does for himself, right? And we play to each other's strengths. I would not ask him to do something that is in my wheelhouse, but it's not in his, and he would not ask me to do the same thing. So by doing that, we're able to make each other better and stronger, and by extension, Lyric Chief benefits, and the rest of the team as well.
I know the building journey is never easy, and there are definitely challenges that have come up. I'd like for you to share one of those challenges and just talk about some of the things that you've learned from the toughest times building this platform. I put on out of my heart, so I know I'm a very...
It's calm.
Yeah, it's okay. I know.
The challenges the lessons that I have learned.
Like a challenge. If you can share a challenge, I'd appreciate that. And maybe a lesson some of the lessons you've learned from the toughest times.
I'm thinking.
I wrote it.
It is, I'm a superstar. Challenges are not, we don't, it's part of the game. You understand?
Yeah.
As an engineer, my job is to solve problems. If there's no problems, then I'm not needed anymore. So I embrace them. So it's very difficult for me to pull out challenges. I'm not whining you. I promise.
I know you, so I mean, I feel like people might think that you're being.
Yeah, no,
I know you, so exactly. I know you're not.
Yeah. So
the lessons,
little moments here and there. Okay, there's this song that we're struggling on, or when we're doing the cards, and I have to go and drop it off here, and I have to go and I'm like, damn man, like who sent me to do all of this? Those are tough challenges, but at the same time, the reward is there. You know, like I said, the impact that we're having on people's lives and the value that we're able to provide to them is amazing. But lessons learned, I've learned a lot in terms of leadership. Take care of your people. If you take care of your people, they take care of the work that they're assigned. Like, I used to be very what's it called? I feel like a lot of nerdy people go through this, where like emotional intelligence is not as high, and it is either X or it is Y, or
especially because you used to do robots.
Exactly, literally, like you spend so long with systems that you expect that garbage in is always garbage out, but with human beings it's very different. Right? You have to manage, not necessarily manage, but you have to help them to help you, right? So I've learned a lot in terms of leadership and how to work with people.
Okay. There's so many questions I want to ask, but we're strapped for time.
Keep going.
I want to know how you've been able to manage building this platform, especially given that it's a Africa-focused platform, or it's an African-focused platform, and you're not currently living in the continent. There must be like some, like definitely highs and lows of that, right? So what has that experience been like for you building this platform?
The lows would definitely be access. I imagine that if I was living in Lagos, I would have better access to other other players in this
True.
industry.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of pros in the sense that this is music. It is uploaded on the same internet that is in Lagos, that is in Toronto, or is in London, or is anywhere. So we don't have that big of a barrier to the work that we're doing. Another thing is meeting some of these artists. We have to wait until they're on tour and they make a tour stop here, and then I can have a conversation with like them and their team, right? It's not a thing of like, no, let's just go to XYZ location. Odumodu is waiting for you. Like if I was in Abuja, for example, like that would have been easier to manage, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just meeting other industry players. But living in Toronto also gives us access to non-Nigerian artists when they come to perform, right? Like when they are also here, as opposed to like if we were living in Nigeria, then we wouldn't have access to that. And then there's also the fact that we live in a very, very lovely tech ecosystem in Toronto. Like the ecosystem here it's getting more mature.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I personally love the co-working cafes that we've been having, that have been popping up recently. I go to one every Wednesday and every Sunday.
Is it the Meraki one?
I go to Meraki.
I was going to show up to Meraki, and then I saw Sammy's. I'm like, oh really?
I go to Meraki. Shout out to Kai and everything that he's doing. Then I have another one I go to on Sunday. And what's so special about Meraki, for example, is that at the end of the co-working session, you have to demo what you worked on in that session, and it just keeps you accountable.
Yeah.
Right? You learn from other people. Like, oh my God, you use this framework. Like, let's talk about it. On the walk home, now we're having a whole conversation about that, right? So living here has pros in terms of like the access that I am able to get, but it also has some cons in terms of the access that I am not able to get. But we find our ways around them.
Love it. I love the optimistic spin to everything. So as we kind of just wrap up, I want to give you a chance to give your final words to people. Like if there's one thing that somebody that's listening to this podcast, if there's one thing that you want them to take away from this conversation, what's that thing going to be?
Music is emotion. Every song that we like or we listen to is tied to a particular time or space in your life or the life of your loved ones. And we believe that should be documented and that should be democratized to not just music that is in English. Everybody should have a chance to be able to perform globally, to be able to connect to an audience that is not just their community in the diaspora. It should be everybody. Like I want artists to be able to look into the crowd from their stage and see all colors, all shapes, all sizes, people from all walks of life, like singing their song back at them. Right? That is one of my visions for artists.
That's such a beautiful vision, and that's also a beautiful place to wrap things up. I do want to know, is Lyric Chief open to, like, are you planning to raise anytime soon? Are you just going to bootstrap this? What's the plan for that around financing the business?
We take it as it comes.
Okay.
We're bootstrapping. We've been bootstrapping. We'll do that as long as we can. When we realize that our dreams are bigger than our pockets, we'll come back to the market. We would see, but at this point we're building relationships with potential investors, so that when the time comes, they're not new to what we're doing. They are not hearing about us for the first time. So if you're an investor, get what you like.
Camera, be like, if you're an investor,
not an advisor, not an advisor. If you're an investor, bread. If you're an investor, once again, if you're an investor and you like what you hear, info@lyricchief.com, send us an email. We can have a conversation, we can build a relationship. Whenever it is that we decide to accept your money, whenever it is that you decide to give us money, we can work together. Love it.
Well, thank you so much, Sam. This was such a great conversation. This was such a great conversation. I learned so much, and I think it was also just, I'm really proud of the work you guys are doing, and I'm really looking forward to it's taking off even further than it already has. Thank you, Sam.
I'm proud of you too.
Oh, stop! I'm shy.
I think only you can whine me. It goes both ways.
All right. right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I hope you had a great time.
I had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
You've been gassing me up the whole
Oh,
time.
and that's a period. I meant everything I said.